Welcome to the Old-Fashioned Three. They've been around basketball from the Big Dipper to the Greek Freak, from Russell Celtics to Curry's Warriors, from Peach Baskets to Paolo Banchero. Here are Whitey Gleason, Phantom, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yes, that was that cat, all right.
Yes, that was that cat, all right. Hey, where are we today?
Wow,
Oh, we're at the Golden One. In-season tournament. I guess they still haven't taken the court down yet. Yeah. I got to tell you, the Kings get knocked out of the in-season tournament. I thought, I'm not going to care about this thing. I was sad. I was disappointed.
Into it, man. Totally into it. Totally looking forward to going to Vegas. It actually meant something in the end of November, the beginning of December, and then watching that game, coming to the realization pretty early on that it wasn't going to be their night. Really sad.
Yeah, I have to agree. I really wanted to. I really was down
Uh-huh.
more than normal after a loss. I mean, because
Yeah.
I wanted to see him advance, and especially the first year. And yeah, it was
Yeah.
just
It's also the fact that the Pelicans just destroyed them.
well,
That was a little
just-
discouraging.
Clearly,
too.
the Pelicans are better than the
Wow.
Kings. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just all there is to it.
Mm-hmm. How about that?
That's hard to swallow.
I know,
But I think that's one of the things that we found out about the in-season tournament. We saw two teams, the Pelicans and I think the Bucks last night. You wonder what a team's ceiling is. I think we kind of saw it, especially Milwaukee last night, where they put 146 up.
Yeah.
And the Pelicans, I mean, getting everybody back and finally getting Murphy back. Man, those guys, that's a tough team. Like you said, they're just better than the Kings right now.
Well, I mean, if they're healthy, I mean, that's been the kind of the problem
Yeah.
with them between Ingram and Zion in particular. McCollum more here lately, but I mean, when they're all there, and like Trey Murphy, I mean, that guy is a player, and a little Alvarado.
Yeah, it's
so-
kind of like him when he's
kinda
all
like-
there,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
he's all there,
Right.
he's formidable, but you just never know.
When would that be?
You can never count on that. No, absolutely not. You can't.
Yeah. But
Definitely
yeah,
not hitting my ceiling every day. No.
if it wasn't for playing the Kings, you'd enjoy watching
Right.
them. I
Right.
mean, they are a team because I mean Zion wasn't even that special particularly.
Yeah.
But they got so many pieces. I mean, Valanciunas is one of the 4, 5, 6 best centers in the league, and he might be the weak part of the whole thing in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you just hope the Kings make the playoffs and don't play them in the first round.
How are you going to make the playoffs if you don't make some kind of deal? Well, you'll make the playoffs, but I mean, if you want to advance, how are you going to advance in the playoffs? How are you going to make it further in the playoffs this year if you don't make some kind of deal? It's hard for me to see.
Oh, that's easy. You just got to pray for about 7 teams having significant injuries.
The Pelicans have to go back to where they were a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Is that a winning strategy?
It really is.
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy.
It's a strategy.
And it probably is a winner. You can't count on that, though.
Right.
So having said that, yeah, I agree. I kind of think Monty McNair's in a spot where if, I mean, you can have patience. I mean, if you can't make a deal, you can't make one. I get that because you have to have a willing partner.
Mm-hmm.
But the team as currently constructed probably can't advance in the playoffs, in my opinion. And
Mr. Fan of Mr. Basketball, excuse me, Joe, I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah, it's
Basketball.
okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Kings fans that are very upset right now, very down on Harrison Barnes. Why didn't they improve on Harrison Barnes when they had the chance? Why did they bring him back? Why is he starting? Well, he's not giving you anything. Why is he even out there?
Yeah, that's been a recurring theme. I think I'm part of that group, I
Whoa.
think. But the thing I noticed from the game on Monday night, and maybe it's not as important, but except for Fox and Monk, the Kings really are short on athleticism. I mean, they don't really have a lot of athleticism. I know you don't have to have it to win, but it really would help. And it was really contrasted when you put them up against the Pelicans, who have a bunch of active guys, long arms, long reach, and defensively. They were making it so hard for Monk and for Fox, especially at the end of that first quarter. They're trying to put the ball on the floor and go one-on-one, and they're poking the ball away and taking it away. And for a team that has an offense that's built on motion and moving the ball, the Kings do have a lot of one-on-one situations that come up. And I just think they need to get a little more talent, a little more athleticism, and they really don't have it besides those two. So when you say make a move, and I saw yesterday, and this will not address the whole thing, but our guy Stanley Johnson was acquired by the Stockton Kings
That's
yesterday.
right.
So we talked about him a little bit earlier, and he would be a guy, obviously he's not going to answer all your problems, but he's a guy who's a 6'7" guy who could give you some defense anyway. I think that's the way they're looking to try to add that athleticism. And I think, once you get into a situation where you're out athleticized and out talented, you're gonna look at something like a Harrison Barnes at a position where people perceived it already that it was kind of, he's had his time. He was a really good player for a long time, but that time isn't now, and you need to upgrade that.
Yeah, well, I think it's something they're going to have to address. I mean, in fairness to Harrison and Coach Brown is kind of, I think, backing and filling a little bit, but saying, we don't run anything for him. I'm not sure they run anything for anybody other than Fox. So there's that. But but that to me it gets back to exactly your point, Mr. Basketball.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Joe.
the team needs another lively, long guy. I think Keegan's going to be fine in whatever eventually because he's a long, athletic guy that bothers people. He's a lot like their guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Kings need another one.
Right.
Need
The wings,
Or
the
he's gonna be
things
a
in the
3 or
NBA,
4.
right?
Yes.
The type of player you're talking about.
yeah,
The
exactly,
wings
yeah.
is the things, and that's where the Kings fail to match up athletically with some of these teams, especially New Orleans. Of course, they've got some outstanding forwards, but that's what the Kings need. You look at this roster, and I think people blame Harrison Barnes too much for things. He's decent player, still helps
Right.
you. Also, the Kings don't want to bench him or anything because if you want to trade a guy, which they probably would like to do if they can, you don't want to bench him. But a 3-and-D guy, long story short, I think
Exactly.
that's what, if there's one like an OG Anunoby, Siakam, that's I think where the Kings are. Correct me if I'm wrong. You go out and make a move like that, you have a higher ceiling, but you run the risk of mortgaging your future, so to speak, if you do that.
Yeah, and really you're mortgaging even, for sure, because you don't know if you can re-sign those
Exactly.
guys. And I mean, and what it's going to cost you
Yeah.
to keep them, will it even be worth it? So that'd be scary to me.
Would you do it?
You have to get up to that talent level.
I
though,
probably
don't you,
wouldn't.
Jared?
Yeah?
I don't know if I'd just risk the future with either one of those guys. I think they're especially Siakam. I like a lot. He's older, but but the fact unless you knew for sure you could re-sign him, I mean, you're 1 year, half-year rental. I mean,
You'd have to
Right.
give up some picks.
and you're
get
going to
him.
have to give up picks, players, a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I'd be more inclined if you could, for a guy, so let's say like Obi Toppin of Indiana, a young guy that you think is getting better and better, a very lively guy, certainly, not saying you could get him, but something like that, a guy that's on the rise.
Gotcha.
That has the athleticism you're looking for.
Kind of a roll of the dice where you hope you find that the guy may have it, even though we're not sure he does yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, where you don't have to give up the franchise to do it.
So you're getting a guy that hopefully has some undiscovered talents that you haven't really seen, or is able to develop those that he has and can in the situation.
It's like
that
a
he's in now.
Moneyball thing. Like the A's
Yeah.
go out and get guys that he's undervalued. He's better than anyone
Right.
knows that he is.
Well, it's a little bit like Monk. I mean, you're catching him at the right
Oh,
time.
absolutely, yeah.
In other words, you saw, like I said, in my mind, you could see at L.A., he's starting to get it. He'd been a highly drafted guy that was underachieving for a while, but was starting to get it. Well, you got him at the right time. Well, my opinion is, just using Toppin as an example, he's a lottery guy that
Yes.
didn't quite fit Thibodeau's
Dayton Flyer, right?
Dayton Flyer,
Yeah.
and he could fly. He's a Dayton Flyer that could fly.
Yes, definitely.
Comes in handy, yeah.
And so I think, Indiana's a better fit for him. He looks better there. And I think, I'm just saying you almost need that kind of guy. I think looking back through the years, I mean, that was what transformed the Kings franchise, getting Bobby Jackson, who basically was on his fourth team and
Undervalued.
undervalued.
Yes,
And
yes.
Doug Christie that just finally had clicked in as a starter, which he'd kind of mucked around for a few years. He'd be the first to tell you, and finally had a pretty good year in Toronto, but certainly the best was to come.
Right.
And I think that's what you need to get one of those guys.
But if you find somebody, and I think we all agree that you need to find somebody, you're going to have to give up something to get that somebody.
Sure.
So there's some element of risk to
But
whatever
not
you're
as
gonna
much
do.
for a guy like Siakam
Right.
or Anunoby, where you're
Yeah.
giving up.
Well, that's because you're getting quote unquote a finished product. We know what Siakam is,
Yeah.
and he is something
Yes.
that you would think the Kings would definitely need. Obviously, the re-signing is huge, but you'd have to give up more to get a guy like that. But you know what you're getting.
But you have to
Yeah.
get
But you have to
somebody,
do
right? If you
something,
really
yes.
want to
Yeah,
do
I
something
mean, no,
this
there's,
year.
I don't know who it'd be, and I think that's always the tough part. They have to identify that, and as you say, if they go for an established guy, you have to give up a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Are you a Kuzma guy? And I am not.
No, I'm
okay.
not.
And a lot of people say they should have gotten Kuzma. I don't know if he'd want to come here, but he's taking 19 shots a game, and bless him. Can you imagine if you brought in Kuzma? And the Harrison Barnes last game took 3 shots, and it's like he's okay. Can you imagine if Kuzma came here and got 3 shots? It would be a huge.
Right.
He'd be going ballistic.
and there's not 19 shots for him to have when he
Exactly.
comes in, so
Right.
that could be something smaller. Yeah,
I just tell you what.
that's the trouble.
And how
You want
about
to get
this,
a guy.
Mr. Basketball?
Oh, please,
Speaking
please.
of Malik Monk.
Oh, my gosh.
Every time he scores a basket at it was here at the Golden One, they play like the Monk chants. I don't know if you've heard that. Oh, it's Malik Monk. I kid you not. Every time he scores a basket, maybe you can't tell on TV, and they
So-
play like Monk chants,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how I feel.
I'm not. No, I no.
I'm not
what?
making that up. Yeah.
Keegan Murray. I'm okay
Yeah,
with that.
right.
okay with
but,
that.
And
but
Sabonis, they play dun 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 dun
Okay,
Sabonis, and then
Fine.
but when Monk makes a basket, they play like Monks chanting.
do they want everybody else to do that too? No, crowd.
It's a little
No.
odd.
Can we work on that, please?
He must be okay
yeah.
with it. I'm
Yeah.
sure he is, or they
He
wouldn't
probably
do it.
doesn't
but-
even notice it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
he's too
would
busy
think
trying to
he's
get a foul
streaming.
call.
Yeah, it's a little bit
It's
cringy.
Cringy. Oh, there you go. Cringy. I was going to say iffy. Cringy's better.
Uh-huh. I saw something last night. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you saw this. Unbelievable. It looked to me like the Lakers benefited from a controversial call at the end of a game, and as a result, they're going to Las Vegas to be in the semifinals of the tournament. Now I've seen it all.
Lakers
The
benefit.
yes.
Oh, alert the media. That's what we'll do. Yeah,
How about that?
fantastic.
Did you see?
You know,
saw
you
that.
could have just knocked me over with a feather. I said, "My gosh, that there."
Finally, they get a break. Those guys.
And,
Those
my
fellas.
God, they haven't had a call in years. And
Right,
They finally
right.
get one that helped
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just wondering, did the league, at the last time the officials checked some play, say, guys, you're going to have to step up here.
Yeah. We
Well,
really want LeBron in the tournament.
Yeah, LeBron has the ability
Vegas.
and the power. He can call timeouts himself.
Yes, he
as
can.
as a referee would do. So when he calls a timeout, he's actually calling
when
the
no one-
timeout.
when his team doesn't have
it
possession.
doesn't even need to. No,
Yeah.
he's walking up to the official who gave him the timeout. Meanwhile, the ball's rolling on
Rolling
the
on the
ground,
floor, yeah,
and there's
yeah.
an official 5 feet away looking at it, going, "It seems fine to me. I'm fine." LeBron called timeout, so it
Yeah.
has to be a timeout. Yeah, I mean, that's just like the game in the Packers and the Chiefs.
Oh.
Didn't call that. There's a guy standing right there watching and going, "Nah, I'm fine."
Yeah, he jumped on his back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm,
it's no big
I'm
thing.
fine with that. Yeah, and LeBron calls his own timeouts. I think it's fine.
Well, it's football. That's worse than
He's
basketball.
a Chiefs fan. You shouldn't have brought that up.
I know, but it's just
Well,
a
no, it's-
situation that we've talked about so many times. Jones and I talked about this years ago on the POS show. If there's an egregious call, you've got a guy up in the booth who's supposed to be looking down on everything. And
Yeah.
going, okay, that you can't let that go.
can't let
you
that
know, I
go.
know you guys missed it, but my job is to be up in the booth going no. And the same thing in basketball, a situation where what are they in Secaucus or something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to give the call
Yeah,
down.
you
and go,
gotta- you
dude,
gotta-
did you see where the ball was? Are you guys crazy? Yeah, but LeBron called timeout. We had to go.
Well, that's what happened. The guys because okay.
He gave it the
Yeah,
LeBron seal.
we forgot for
Yeah,
a second.
absolutely.
We didn't really understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I always say. It's kind of like back in Magic's day. He unofficially had a whistle. He just
Well, he and Larry, that's fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
fine with those two guys having it. That's fine.
Yeah,
the
actually,
league
I-
needed cleaning up in those days.
yeah.
anyway.
Actually, the league needed those guys to have.
yeah, they did. Yeah.
Well, I have a friend who once said to an official, "Why don't you just give Magic the whistle?" Right?
I did say that, and
was you,
Magic
huh?
thought it was a good idea.
He said, "That's okay. I've already got one." He had
you
one
know,
in his
said,
pocket.
He should have said, "Well, I don't really need one. I get, I
get
tell him
whatever
what to
call."
call." So there's that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is. That's the one thing with sports now with the the replays and stuff. It's like you still don't get it right.
Yeah.
It's-
You know,
yeah.
And
I mean,
having
it's-
people point out how wrong it is, it doesn't do you any good. Because even on the broadcast, they're like, "The ball's over there." Even my guy Reggie Miller, who
You know
doesn't
what,
know
though?
anything.
Don't worry about it.
It's okay.
The 2-minute report will come out today, last report.
thank
And they'll
God.
say, you know what? That probably should not have been a timeout.
Yeah.
And then everything will be fine.
The Suns will call
yeah,
and go,
everything's
hey, thanks
fine.
a lot. This
It's
is
wiped away.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Oh,
yeah, hey,
okay.
You guys are taking control of it. No problem. We're fine not going to the semifinals.
By the way, speaking of Larry Bird, as we just were a second ago, I learned something this weekend about French Lick that I didn't know. There's a piano factory there, or there was.
There
right?
was,
Yeah,
Kimball
yeah.
Piano Factory,
Yeah.
which was a big employer at the time. When I was growing up, it's gone now, long
Oh,
gone.
I guess Larry's dad worked there for a while, is my understanding.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so-
a lot of people worked
Yeah,
there. It
uh-huh.
paid more than the resort hotels and
How
things
about
like
that?
that.
Yeah.
Not
so-
bad.
Yeah.
Now, who was it? Larry's grandfather who showed you how to smoke cigarettes?
Yeah,
Okay.
Claude Bird.
Claude. Yeah, out at the
Gets
at
out
the
there and
golf course.
roll them with one hand. One of those guys could do it.
Yeah.
He and
I
his,
hadn't heard that one.
No, well, tell him. I mean,
No,
that's,
I mean,
it's on the interview. Come on, watch the
worked-
show, the Phantom
I
Stock
was
Show.
16 years old and worked at the Donald Ross Golf Course, which was close to my house, and my job was to rake the sand traps. There were 66 of the son of a guns, and mow the bunkers.
Uh-huh.
So that's my job, and which I did quite well, by the
Yeah,
way.
I'm
How
sure.
long did it take you to learn that you got to rake and then back? Did you ever, when you started, did you like rake the trap and then realize, I got to get out of the bunker? I got to.
That was the first year.
They showed me, which
okay.
I
Obviously,
mean, I
you were
made
ne-
that mistake. so-
which I was a little offended because I knew right away that that's how I would do it.
Right.
But,
Oh, you had
an idea,
but they were impressed that a 16-year-old figured it
I'm
out
impressed,
and
yeah.
do the job. Of course, they didn't realize that by the afternoon of work, I'd roll the mower into the woods and take a nap. They couldn't find me.
But so Claude, we're talking about Claude Bird showing
Yeah.
you how to. So you're rolling. He's
Well,
rolling.
yeah, it was the lunchtime, and he and his buddy Shorty Taylor, they'd be sitting there,
Real
smoking
name,
and stuff.
Shorty
And I thought,
Taylor,
man,
yeah.
that's cool. And I'd sit there and listen to them. They had a lot of good stories and stuff. And of course, I didn't know he's going to be granddad of one of the greats. But he was sitting there rolling it, and I said, let me try that. He said, sure, I'll roll you one. But he said, on one condition: you smoke the whole thing. I said, okay.
Sign me up.
Okay,
So-
Larry Bird's grandfather. No problem.
So I smoked her, and that's the last one I needed to smoke.
So you owed a debt of gratitude to the Bird family right there.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
you
was
do.
gonna say it. Claude Bird stopped the smoker right there on the spot.
I wanted to see what you guys thought of this book. Speaking of Larry Bird, I grabbed this before we went over to the Far East. When the Game Was a War by a guy named Rich Cohen, who I'd never heard of. And I thought, I don't know who this guy is. This book is probably not going to be very good. It's very good. Long story short, he contends that the 87-88 season was the best season in NBA history. When the Game Was War, the NBA's greatest season. I wanted to see what you guys thought of that. Not to spend a lot of time on it, but we talk a lot on the show about the old days. He points out that 87-88, you had the very end of the Laker dynasty. You had Larry Bird's Celtic dynasty had just about wrapped up, but they're still there.
Right.
The Pistons dynasty or 2-year mini dynasty, whatever you want to call it, was just starting. And then you had Michael and the Bulls, and they were on the horizon.
Yeah.
And he talks about all the great Hall of Famers. And you coached during that period. We were fans during that period. I never thought of that. And initially I thought, since I'd never thought of it, I thought, well, that's dumb because I
Can't
never
happen.
thought of it.
No.
But it's a really interesting case.
It really is. I mean, it's one of those things that I'll sound like an old-fashioned three, but I'm not going to apologize for it because I do think at that time, you had great teams.
Yes. Great players.
Great
and, yeah.
teams. Now, you had some terrible teams, obviously, which we all know they always do. But I just think the greatness at that time is better than, and I like the game today, and there's probably more really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as,
Yeah.
who's the best team in the league? Well, whoever it is, whether it's Denver or
Boston or
Boston.
Milwaukee.
I
whatever.
mean, Boston today, they've got the best record, I think, and I don't think they compare at all with those Boston teams, and I don't think anybody in Boston would tell you they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you had a convergence of half of the top 10 of the greatest players of all time
Right,
playing at one
right.
time with Michael and the guys on the Lakers and the Celtics. So yeah, as far as star power is concerned, and also teams we talk about you don't think the Celtics are as good now as they were. I mean, the teams that were together along, like college used to be a 4-year thing where
Yeah.
you get used to the teams. And this is, well, the Lakers. I know everybody on the Lakers. I know everybody on the Celtics. I know the Pistons. I know most of them, and they're coming up. The Bulls, obviously, Michael and whatever the supporting cast is. So these guys intimately. Every game is people that you know. You kind of know what's going to happen. You know that there's personalities between all the people that are competing and everything, and that just makes it a better product.
Yeah, one other thing, and I always look back on that because at that time you had so many contrasting styles of play. The Lakers, the Showtime Lakers, the grinded out Celtics, the bad boy Pistons.
Yeah.
obviously,
Jordan rules, yeah.
Grind
Jordan
you
rule.
out, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you had totally different types of basketball and at a high level that worked as opposed to today. Every team plays the same. Mm-hmm. Push
Because
it up.
nobody cared about shooting a 3 in those days
Yeah,
either.
you're
Really,
right. I mean, it's
so-
it's like we all liked 3, but I mean now it's all push
Larry
the ball.
probably should have taken more threes, right?
Well, in
When
those
you look-
days,
yeah.
if they'd been allowed to, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a 40%er for
Yeah.
life, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just wasn't part of it. And that same goes for Reggie Miller or,
You had to
or Jeff
redesign your whole
Hornacek
offense,
or a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
guys who would have benefited greatly. But I mean, I think that's the one negative I've had in today's game. As much as I enjoy it, every team. You see one, you see them all. Now, some are better at it, but they're going to push it up in transition. If they don't get a 3 in transition, they're going to go to a high screen and roll or draw and kick. Now, if you see something different, let me know.
By the way, no apologies. You're in the middle of this,
I know.
telling us about basketball, and then Stones he's just sitting there watching, and then things are falling off his desk.
He's trying to
and
put us on as many different
apologies.
platforms
Really want
as
to
he can.
apologize to you.
He is who we thought he was. Isn't he?
The other thing that to me is different, in addition to what you guys said about back then, guys then took pride in their teams. And I'm not saying they should now. Now guys are more, they're businessmen. It's like, I'm playing for this team now, but players now a lot of times are more, they have more loyalty towards their shoe companies than they do to their teams. And I understand it. It's like they're businessmen. But then, Magic, the Lakers, and Larry Bird, Celtics. There was Celtic pride. And guys now, it's almost like, there's a little bit of that, but it's not close to what it used to be.
Yeah, last night LeBron against KD. What do they have? 8 teams
Yeah,
between them or something
exactly.
like that.
Great
LeBron,
example.
Lakers,
Yeah.
Cavaliers,
Yeah.
Heat. I mean,
Well,
Cavaliers
and I
again.
don't begrudge them. I
That's
understand
fine.
it, but it's just different.
That's the
to me.
lay
Well,
of the
it's
land,
different
yeah.
because, I mean, it all started, and I don't know, and I'm not too sure, but what certainly LeBron started it, Durant too to a degree, is chasing the ring. Mm-hmm. Back in those days, it was, hey, I'm going to get a ring.
For us.
For
Yeah,
us.
Yeah.
Well, it's the Celtics.
I'm not
The
going to
Celtics are
join
getting the ring.
somebody.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope somebody helps me.
Right.
And whether it's Jordan or Bird or Magic, those guys is like, no, we don't. Isaiah Thomas, no, we're not going anywhere. I think Isaiah sometimes forgot, but forgotten a little bit.
He is, and he was. I was
it's
not a fan of his,
yeah.
but he was phenomenal.
He was
He's a
incredible.
phenomenal player.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player. And so, I think that's, as an old guy, I mean, that's one of the things that I do miss, to where, and where guys after games didn't just go up and have group hugs all the time. I know, I think it's
Come
good-
on, you had Larry Bird at your house
Yeah.
before and after games.
Yeah,
but that
we
wasn't-
didn't, and we didn't have a group hug after the game either.
And that wasn't really competitive anyway, so it was
No.
more like friendly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, I was
No,
there,
no.
except for the one time.
Yeah.
And when Larry missed the free throws, probably because he was benefiting
Well, they
from the
did beat
hospitality.
us. They
Yeah.
beat us in overtime once too. You forgot that.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I probably did. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was,
okay.
you know,
Well,
I
you're
was
very
enjoying
se-
my. I was
No,
enjoying
no.
myself in the game.
No, you're
Jerry.
very selective in your hate.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the time you won.
He's a hater, isn't he?
He can be. He can be the jabber. Yeah.
Well,
That
but-
is one of the things I think that's refreshing for Kings fans, as a Kings fan, about the Kings now is because you have Sabonis and Fox, your best players. It's like they want to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, and they consider themselves part of something the Kings are building.
No, I think that is great. And I think over the years, I think most players did want to be here. The fan experience is great, how they're treated in the community, only show in town,
Absolutely.
more or less. I mean, I always thought the media, especially the national media, never got it right because they didn't want to.
Right. Right.
You know, they just didn't want to.
And they were
You know,
always at least 2 or 3 weeks behind.
Yeah.
Whatever happened
Whatever
here,
happened.
they got it in 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, they still. I mean, it's like they think everybody wants to play for the Knicks or the Lakers. Well, not everybody does. You know, they keep trying to get, you know, think Antetokounmpo has to play for the Knicks someday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, does he? Or Jokic has to leave Denver? Oh well,
it's
anyway.
the time of the small markets now. That's what I'm hearing lately. It's all the small markets.
Well,
It's
I
not-
do
they're
think
going
it's
to the big ones,
changed.
yeah.
I mean, in the NBA, I mean, I think Duncan proved that you can, you know, or even without champion. I mean, the Malone Stockton kind of thing. You know, have great success where you are. It benefits you in the long run. I mean, whether you win championships or don't. I mean, you once your career's over, it's going to mean something rather than. How does he retire as a Rocket, a Jazz? You know,
7 different hats. Which one do I choose? Yeah.
yeah.
Mitch Richmond finished as a Laker. I think?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Patrick Ewing finished as a
Sonic.
Sonic.
Yeah. Was
Yeah.
Hakeem a Raptor? Was it
Yes,
Hakeem
Hakeem
Olajuwon
Olajuwon was a Raptor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, it's you know, of course, the money's so good. I see guys
Yeah.
hanging on longer,
Sure.
and I understand that because you know what's your next job after basketball? Well, you guys, but you can go hang on for an extra year and
Yeah.
get $5 million or something.
Mm-hmm.
But in earlier days, the money wasn't so extravagant that guys knew when they're kind of done. It's best just to.
I was a couple days ago in Okinawa. Walked down the street. There was a store called The Locker, and it wasn't like it wasn't a big chain or anything. It was an independent store, a sports store. And in the window, they had a Michael Jordan jersey, and it was a Michael Jordan Wizards jersey.
Yes.
And I felt like going and going. You know, you
No, don't do that.
No,
are
it's
you
the novelty feature. It's to get
I
people in
guess.
the store.
Yeah,
That
but-
Allen Iverson Grizzly or something
Oh,
like that. You know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Get people in there.
Yeah, that's surprising. You don't see a lot of those.
No,
Yeah.
and you shouldn't.
You
do
really
that.
shouldn't have ever seen that.
Yeah.
No,
ever.
Yeah.
Willie Mays as a Matt.
Matt-
Yeah,
Okay,
good
Jerry,
example.
that hurts, yeah.
Joe Namath with the Rams.
Rams.
Was
Oh.
it Johnny Unitas was a Charger?
Chargers,
Yeah,
sure.
Johnny Unitas was a Charger.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So, Mr.
man.
Basketball, who's going to win this in-season tournament? The first ever.
I am right now pulling for the New Orleans, the Pelicans. I think they can beat the Lakers. I think that was a real interesting game last night, Lakers and the Suns, because I'm watching it, and the Suns are still waiting. As we talked about the last time we got together, we have more appearances than Bradley Beal does.
Yes, we
he
do.
never gets out there. But there were so many times last night that like an Eric Gordon or somebody else would have an open shot, and I can't imagine if Bradley Beal was out there and playing like he can, how many great opportunities he would have, and how much better that would make the team. But the other side of it is their rebounding is so awful. I mean, the Lakers were just dominating them on the boards, and so I think even when they're at full strength, they're going to have a long way to go to get to where I think people think they're going to be.
I want to commend you. That's the first time in the history of this podcast that you've talked about Eric Gordon without taking a shot at his weight. First time ever.
Eric Gordon is my guy. Okay.
Oh, really? Now he's your guy.
We share Oreos together all the time. Okay, is that what you wanted me to say? Oh, there's opportunities for Bradley Beal if and when he ever gets on the court. That's going to make them a much stronger offensive team. But just watching them try to get the ball away from like big kids on the playground almost last night, it was embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Beal helps your rebounding though.
No,
I
it
mean,
won't. I'm just saying
and
it's
actually,
two separate things. Yeah.
and I mean he can do one-on-one things. I think if anything, he takes some opportunities away from Durant and Booker, but he can't shoot like Eric Gordon. He can't. History proves
Eric
it.
wasn't even putting him up all the time last night.
No, I know. But
He's my guy, Eric Gordon.
Your guy.
Yeah, I like Eric
yeah,
Gordon.
well,
Yeah.
okay. I like.
But
Eric
I'm
Gordon,
going with Pelicans. Although Milwaukee, the way they played last night, unbelievable.
Yeah, Lakers are going to win it. The official's going to make sure
Oh,
they do.
see, here we go.
Right?
Yeah.
We've seen it before.
Yeah,
It's part of life.
unlimited timeouts. Whenever they want a timeout, they'll get
Yeah,
it.
yeah. LeBron's got the unlimited plan. Yeah.
The first in season tournament won by the Lakers and LeBron. It just looks good in the history books. Right?
It does.
Yeah.
It legitimizes for the NBA the whole thing. Like, see who won? As Jerry said, I mean, if you have the Pelicans win that thing,
Pelicans.
I mean,
Pacers. That's right.
I mean, I know this. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I do know that the league prefer the Milwaukee Bucks and the Los Angeles Lakers
Yes.
playing in the
Saturday
in the final.
night. Yeah, the
and
Saturday
I would
night
not
final.
be surprised if that's exactly how.
There you go.
wouldn't be.
You heard it here first. Yeah.
what do you have coming up on your Phantom Talk show?
Phantom
Tuesday.
Talk Show
We
coming
were
up. We've got Sacramento, Northern California stage actor Eric Wheeler coming up this Friday. And then next Friday, I don't have to talk to my producer, Stones, the only guy who ever talked more than Jerry Reynolds, Carmichael Dave.
Whew.
Carmichael Dave came by the studios. He just left before you guys got here. He was here 2 days ago, and so Carmichael Dave will be here. So that's our next two guests on the Phantom Talk Show.
Can I ask your opinion of something?
Sure.
You know, we kind of grew up together. I've never been on it, invited to be on a show. Carmichael Dave was on it. How should I feel about that?
Well, I mean, it's clearly there's a little issue here.
There
somewhere.
is.
Okay. All right, I see.
You
We grew up
know,
together too. I mean, you're filling in on 11 to 40. Where's my call?
He's on tomorrow.
But that makes it better.
Jerry's
Yeah.
on with me tomorrow, and for Kyle Draper.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for Drapes,
And for
you do a
Drapes,
Drapes
you know,
take
try
or
to-
whatever. Yeah.
Try to fill the chair best I
Now,
can.
Drapes put on a Purdy jersey. Are you going to put on like LeBron jersey if they win the in-season tournament or something?
No.
Okay. I'm just trying to help ratings. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
That's just my job. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no,
All
no,
right.
no, I won't. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Of course, I enjoyed my. I
That you've been on.
I did the
He was
first.
the first
Coco
one.
has been on. Has
And-
been a
and for
guest.
Coco's
on-
been on a couple of them.
Yeah, and,
No.
and for those that tune in, go back to the first one.
Go to the first one.
That's where it
you
all
can
started.
find them all on Stone
No
Radio
question.
Network's
Yeah,
YouTube.
I mean that's where it all
Tom
started.
Maley, Christina Werner, Joe Davidson, Ryan
Yeah.
Stevens, and Jerry Reynolds.
Yeah.
Let us all up.
And like I said,
And some people haven't been on yet. Ever. I mean, what?
the fact that he hasn't. But then again,
It's a selective group, Jerry. Come on.
I've
You
been
feel
overseas for a while.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
yeah.
probably
Well,
it.
I called you last week. Were you around?
yeah,
Oh,
there it
there you
is.
go.
Well,
yeah.
you
I
know-
left a message.
he has got a little big time.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, well, I'm going international now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to get acclimated to the time zones again. I won't be able to make it over.
No, I've noticed a little difference, haven't you?
Yeah, you do the car show.
Yeah,
How was
yeah.
the car show today? Was he a little
He was
full of himself?
What? Not anything unusually full.
So you didn't notice any change?
Just kind of the
Business as usual.
Yeah, I have trouble with the time change. Phantom has a hard time with the time change when he drives to the Bay Area.
Yeah, I did. I
He's
was
like,
in San
"Whoa."
Francisco. I'm like, what the hell time is it? Where did the time go? I got to go take a nap.
Well, that's like I said when I drive to Tahoe. He said, "Oh, I mean, am I in a time like what's the guy's name from Providence?" He said, "I'm in a time
Marvin
machine."
Barnes.
Marvin
Marvin
Yeah,
Barnes.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm not
ain't
going to get in
getting
a
no
time machine.
Yeah.
One of the great stories of all time.
We will probably see you next time.
Maybe.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
I'll have see you.
Let's
Yeah.
not wait for a month.
I know.
I mean, the fans deserve to see this show on a regular basis.
We're the Bradley Beal of YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, we are kind of the Bradley Beal
Yeah, I
of
know.
YouTube. and
Sorry.
I really not rephrase it. They don't deserve to see us because they deserve better.
They
But-
deserve better.
Well,
Yeah,
they
I'm not sure
deserve- I
what
don't know-
better is.
I don't know. Mr. Big Time's filling on his spot. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
you and I that just aren't bringing it.
Well, no. He does his job. I mean, he.
I'm
there
here.
again.
Yeah.
He is who we thought he was.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And we let him off the hook.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe.
Even though you deserve better. We'll
You
see
deserve
next time.
better.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to that.
On
Eric
the
Gordon, baby.
old
Eric Gordon.
Fashion 3. What?
Thank you for joining the Old Fashioned 3 on Stones Radio Networks. To stay updated on the show, like and subscribe on YouTube, and all shows are available for download on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and of course at stonesradionetworks.com. Follow the show and the gents on Twitter at OL, Fashion, and the number 3, at Phantom Radio 60, and at Whitey Gleason. This has been a production of Stones Radio Networks.